For those of you who don't know me, I'm Berrio Matamoros. I'm a library associate professor and the emerging technology librarian at CUNY, the City University of New York. And this is my fourth Kali conference I'm presenting at, I believe. So it's great to be here. You see some more people moving in. I know it's the end of the day, so it's been a long day. But as I mentioned, no, not again. So I've been having this issue with my startup disk, and I'm going to have to switch to another one if it keeps happening that my hard drive keeps filling up for no reason whatsoever. This happens when you're running data of an operating system, that sometimes things go screwy that you don't expect at the worst possible times. But hopefully I can make it through this. If not, I'll jump over to the Windows laptop that's in the room. So I am here to tell you a tale of 2 collaborations and 3 hats. And I will start out with the collaborations before I get to the hats. And the 2 collaborations are clinic library collaborations, both at CUNY, where I work, and also at Suffolk University in Boston. And so back in the fall, I was having a conversation with some folks at Suffolk, and talking about some of the things we're doing at CUNY with me being embedded in the clinics. I've been embedded in the clinics this whole past academic year, working with our clinical director, our clinical dean, and also some of the different clinic directors on introducing more law practice technology and academic technologies into their clinics. So that's been one big thing I've been focused on this past academic year and going into the fall. So I was talking to some folks at Suffolk about that in the clinics there, some folks who I've gotten to know over the years, and they mentioned that they're also interested in having more technology usage throughout their clinics. So my first suggestion to them was, talk to someone in the library. You have a new library director, Ron Wheeler, an awesome guy, very knowledgeable. Talk to Ron, or talk to someone else you know in the library, and see if there's any librarian who might be able to help you with the things you want to do. And so it turns out that these 2 clinicians did talk to Ron, and Ron said, hey, I will help you. I'm new here, I want to get to know folks in the clinic. And so Ron Wheeler, again the director of the law library at Suffolk, started working with a few clinical faculty to help them increase their adoption of law practice technology. And so that is, I'm going to switch computers right now because this keeps happening. And so that is the 2 collaborations that I'm going to tell you a little bit about. All right, thanks. And we're back. Good. So here's where we were, CUNY and Suffolk. And so the first thing that people told me when I was talking to folks and friends at bars or whatnot who are in practice, that I'm working with the clinics, and that I know some folks at Suffolk who are working with the clinics and librarians, is like, well, what are the librarians doing to help clinicians out with technology in their clinics? Like, it's nothing to do with research, nothing to do with what people consider traditional librarian roles. And I explained to my friends and to a lot of other colleagues that librarians can wear many hats. And nowadays, librarians wear a ton of different hats. And so here's where the 3 hats come in. I'm going to talk to you about 3 different hats that librarians can wear nowadays. And in some cases, such as at CUNY, I wear all 3 of these hats. And a lot of other institutions, for those of you who are librarians in the room, you probably wear 2 or 3 of these hats also. And so the first hat that a librarian can nowadays wear is project manager. And this is one of the hats that I'm wearing as part of my collaboration with the clinics. This collaboration was an idea that the clinic dean and I had back in spring, so about a year ago now. And when we talked about it at first, the idea was that we'd use our Committee on Academic Technology, that also has some interest in law practice technology, to be the conduit for increasing adoption of law practice technology within our clinics. And then as we talked more about it, I thought, well, this is one area I'm very interested in. So how about I talk to my director and see if I can convince her to let me allocate some of my time to working with the clinics in this embedded role. And I will help you really gear up these projects and try and get them moving along throughout the year. And so it became my role to sort of keep everything on track, keep trying to push forward, keep trying to get the many projects I'm working on in collaboration, which I'm about to tell you about, moving on. And so with project management, there are a lot of different aspects of project management, but the roles I've had this year have been to be involved in the initiation of the project, the entire planning all throughout, worrying about things like resources, time, money, technology resources, and also worrying about all the players involved, keeping everyone organized, getting everyone on track. It's a lot of work that a librarian doesn't ordinarily do, but it's some work that, in addition to the planning and controlling, also motivating and dealing with all these worries about resources like I mentioned. So it's a role that librarians don't ordinarily do, but it's a role that I was prepared to do to some degree because I'm a recent graduate of the high school at Drexel, so the College of Information Science and Technology. And in high school, one of my required courses for my Master's in Library Science was Managing Information Organizations. And this is pretty much a library management course, but it's not a library management course in a decade ago or longer sense. It's really driven through a project management structure. So from the very beginning, the idea is project management, in addition to like some personnel management and HR type stuff at the end of the course. But it's really learning project management skills, learning different resources available to you, tools available to you, and this is something that I had no idea that I would learn and a skill that I would develop during library school at the time I entered library school. But this is the kind of course that's required in most Masters in Library Science programs nowadays. So recent graduates of library school will have had some training in management, and that training in management is probably rooted in project management. And another great example of at Drexel, another course I wanted to take but didn't get a chance to. And by the way, in case you're wondering, I live in New York, and I went to school at Drexel just up until a year ago. And this was because I did their online program. So I've actually never been to Drexel, even though I'm a graduate of Drexel University. I did a fully online program. So next month, when I'm at AALL annual meeting, I will finally actually step on foot of the Drexel campus and see what my lovely institution that I am now an alum of looks like, because I have no idea what it looks like. So anyway, another course that I could have taken at Drexel that I really wanted to but couldn't fit in was software project management. And so again, another project management course offered available to any library school student at Drexel. And throughout the country, this is what you'll find in course catalogs for library schools. So yes, librarians, even though they're not considered traditionally to be project managers, nowadays they're trained for that, at least through one semester's worth of coursework, and it's definitely a lot of depth that we went into in that semester. And so at CUNY, how did I keep myself on track? How did I get all of these different projects we were working on going? The big tool that I used was OneNote. Has anyone here ever used OneNote? All right, great. What are folks' thoughts on OneNote? Opinions about OneNote? Good, not good, better alternatives?
Good for making notes.
Good for making notes. Have you ever used it for, Ken, have you ever used it for like just the shared online option where you can share with other people in your team?
I use it in personal capacity, not professional.
Yeah, we're trying to use it for professional capacity, but they have to create an account with Microsoft.
Exactly.
And because our system is in Outlook server, Exchange server,
yeah.
It doesn't count as Microsoft, and people get confused because they think because they have Outlook account with the school, they can just use it. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
From a personal point of view, the reason I adopted it was because it had apps for every platform I use, so I mean, typically the thing I do with it is make a shopping list or a travel packing list, and then I can easily type it in on my computer or laptop or iPad, and then quickly look at it on my phone, which is Android, and still see the exact same information.
Exactly, yeah, which is really great. So now it has, for many years now, online syncing. And so that's where it became really valuable, because this is a screenshot of what our OneNote notebook looks like for our clinic library collaboration at CUNY. And as you'll see, there are tabs across the top. There are a lot more tabs if you keep scrolling over. This is the Action Items tab, and this is where we keep track of what needs to get done soon, now, what's going on. So you'll see there's our summer to-do list, dealing with a few different projects, some VPN related for getting into our clinic servers, VOCAT, which is an online video assessment tool for assessing students' oral advocacy, that was built in-house at CUNY at Berrio College, and we are using at the law school, and will hopefully be available to all universities to use within the next academic year. Berrio is working on making that happen. And then some other things you'll see down here, things like a survey, which is one of the things we did this year. We did a survey on law practice technology use within our clinics, so we wanted to know what our clinicians were doing, what they weren't doing, what information they were sharing with students, and that survey was really helpful, but it's also something that I had to make sure happened, kept pushing through, and so OneNote and email and whatnot were really helpful. Also, ePortfolios was another one of our big projects, and so that's something that's a project that the clinic dean is taking on more so than I am. And so whenever he's made some new progress with the project, he'll just go onto OneNote, put an update in the ePortfolios tab, let me know what's going on. You can copy and paste text, copy and paste emails, throw in files like PDFs or JPEG images or whatnot. And OneNote has really been what has made our collaboration work for us. Because I've got a crazy schedule, he's got a much crazier schedule, and it's really hard for us to find time to sit down together. So as we both, carve out a little bit of time, maybe on a Wednesday night to do some of this, we can just throw an update into OneNote, we know what's going on, the other person can check and try and check on at least a weekly basis on all the different tabs, just to know what's going on. So this has been an invaluable tool for us in what we've been doing. Any questions about the project management stuff, how we use OneNote, how we've managed to make this all work as an additional layer of responsibility to our many layers of responsibility?
Do you assign tasks between?
Yes, so we divide
or we just use it as a collaboration document?
We divide tasks, yeah. So like I said, with ePortfolio is a task that he's spearheading, focused on the survey, on technology. There's a staff person in the clinic who's working with us, and the support staff person is working on documentation, really helpful documentation. We created a glossary for our clinic faculty on different law practice and technology terms, and so that support person worked on with that, and a few other different projects. And so she also has access to our OneNote. She makes updates as they happen, which has been really helpful. Other questions? Yeah. So how many of you had some inkling or clue that project management is pretty much required in library schools nowadays? Okay, a few of you. Cool. Good. But I'm also glad that many of you did it, because now you know. And now you can go back and share that with your home institutions. Got something good out of this presentation right now. All right, so I promised some successes and some struggles, so here we go. Some successes for our collaboration at CUNY. I've had a lot of great discussions with faculty. The clinic dean and I have both sat down and had great discussions with faculty about their academic technology use, their law practice technology use, so that's been good. We've been getting the word out, getting more interest. There's definitely been some buy-in among clinic faculty. I'll get to the some part a little later. We had that survey that I explained to you earlier about law practice technology use. Our clinic faculty are now better informed about law practice technology tools. Man, I always stumble on that no matter how many times I say it, and I sure say it a lot in my life. Okay, and so like I mentioned, there's a glossary, there's one-on-one talks we've had, different educational workshops and whatnot. So our clinic faculty are now better informed. We've increased the use of video for student assessment, so that's one thing that the clinic team and I both wanted to do, and it's started to happen this year. It's definitely going to ramp up for next academic year. That vocab platform that we're now using has been key in making that happen, but there are a lot of other video assessment and annotation tools. Just a quick explanation of what vocab does. You upload a video to a web software as a service platform, then the video is in the platform. The instructor creates a grading rubric that the students can see in advance. The instructor grades the student against that rubric, can annotate live alongside the video, so that as the student watches back their graded video, they will see the comments pop up at the moment that the instructor wrote those comments in, and can see the instructor's feedback. And then if the instructor toggles on the option, students can also respond to all the comments in line with the instructor's comments. And so it's a way to go back and forth and provide feedback on oral advocacy without actually having to ever be in the same room as students, because say if it's a pair of students, they can video each other, pull out their iPhones, capture the video and upload it. VOCAT will, by this fall, have an iPhone and an Android app that will allow them to immediately upload their videos into their course and submit their assignment that way. So it's a really great platform, like I said. Hopefully it will be out and available to other institutions soon. Other things we did, we introduced the use of tablets among clinic faculty for some who were interested, which is really great. And we explored e-portfolios. And it's something that will be really helpful as the ABA's new requirement for student assessment goes forward. One thing they mentioned is to have the possibility of a student portfolio of students' work. And so that's why we're trying to move forward with getting e-portfolios to be some kind of presence from the very first day of law school at CUNY, so that students will be accustomed to putting all of their written work, any videos, any other material they want into their e-portfolio. So these are some of the good things that we took care of in our first year of this project. Struggles with it? Time. Like I mentioned, he and I both have very busy schedules. This is now an additional layer to that. And OneNote has helped us be able to carve out a little bit of time and get things working, and I have to sit down and have so many face-to-face meetings because we're always keeping track of everything through OneNote. So we only meet about once a month face-to-face for about an hour. And a few phone calls here and there, tons of emails, a lot of OneNote stuff. There's a need for more buy-in, as people would expect with any collaboration trying to do with faculty. You'll get some faculty on board, but not everyone, and so that's one thing that's been tough for me, but hopefully as the time goes on and as the faculty who have buy-in get more involved, then there'll be even more buy-in. We're going through budget cuts at CUNY like a lot of law schools are, and so there's no funding for the kind of stuff we want to be doing, which is unfortunate. And then I mentioned that we don't have any time. So that's the last thing. All right, so project management hat is the first of the 3 hats. Second hat I want to talk to you a bit about is instructional designer. And so, again, even though librarians don't traditionally have a role of instructional designer, I know at a lot of schools, librarians have been working with faculty and assisting with analyzing their pedagogical needs, assisting with designing innovative solutions to address those needs in conjunction with the faculty. So working with them on, oh, there's all these great tools, they may be able to be useful for you, so let me help you identify some good tools, we can talk about how you can use them. And then also identify ways to evaluate the effectiveness of innovative changes. So how do these changes we're making in our teaching, are they effective, how are they effective, what effect do they have on students' learning and understanding of the material. And so how are librarians qualified to do this? Anyone want to take a guess? Anyone?
Learning.
Huh?
Learning.
Learning it themselves. Where maybe, do you think?
While doing it.
While doing it, so learning on the job, definitely. That's how I learned it at first. Also learning through library school.
Younger folks, yes.
Yeah, younger folks, yes. Because this is now kind of things required. So yeah, that's when, this is based off of my portion of the presentation that all the folks involved with at Suffolk and at CUNY gave at the ALS Clinical Conference last month. And I had like a 7-minute talk that now is expanded into this. And what I mentioned there, that I should have mentioned earlier, is that this is only for recent graduates of library school. This is something that has not been required for a long period of time, but something like this course, which is the instructional role for information specialists, this is a course that was required in my program. I could not take this course. Yes?
I know some of us would be griping because it's been a while,
yeah,
because they've been in school, but it might be worthwhile for people to check out with a library school or their local one, whether there's what's called an advanced certificate. I went to Kent State, they offer that, and I'm going to be taking an advanced certificate on the management side.
Yeah.
So that would be a way for you to get back, because if you work for an institution and they pay for you to go back to school, if there's a program available like the advanced certificate, that could be an option. So
Yeah,
Kent State has it. I don't know about the other libraries.
I don't know if it's an online
Schools seem
program
to
or
have a specific niche of whatever they want to do. I don't think all of them did. for example, do management or instructional design, because I guess you can go somewhere else.
Do you know if there's an online offering for that certificate?
Yeah, most of the classes now at Kent are online.
Nice.
You know, but I don't know if they, because I know Drexel, the big thing is they give you the, isn't there like a discount, doesn't matter where you
Yeah,
live?
there's still like a low member discount.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, UNT, I did mine all online too.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I saw your hand up there.
Well, I just, I'm curious about the assumption that people who got their library degrees earlier, let's say, didn't learn these things, because I certainly did.
That's great, yeah, and yeah, I don't
And I
assume
think
that people haven't.
Well,
And the other thing, sorry.
Let's just say it wasn't universally, never mind, no matter what I say, I'm sure I'm not being accurate, so.
Fair.
Well,
Strike everything I said for the last 10 seconds.
And the other thing is, even though folks who have been in a job for longer than a few years, I'm going to my 6th year as a law librarian now. So I was working full-time and in school full-time, and that was crazy, but I finished it. And so anyhow, even if you haven't had coursework in this, a lot of people who have been in the field for a while as law librarians have been teaching, have been instructors. And so they can relate to faculty who they're collaborating with in this role as an instructional designer. Because they've been in front of classrooms and they've had to learn all these things. And one thing that I will say that may be a bit of an assumption, maybe a bit biased, is that while some law faculty may not put a lot of thought or effort into the instructional design, the pedagogical component at the outset of their teaching careers, I have noticed that librarians really care about those who teach, really care about being good teachers and understanding pedagogy to some degree and understanding instructional design to some degree. So they'll teach themselves if they haven't learned it in library school. And when they get in front of the classroom, they'll understand the fundamentals of pedagogy, fundamentals of instructional design. And then they can maybe try and see if some of that information seeps into the brains of their faculty colleagues. One angle, one possible way to spin that for some other folks. But yeah, I think that the experience that a lot of people get through teaching as librarians is also extremely valuable. I'd say more valuable. I've learned a lot more getting to apply what I learned in library school as I've taught versus just reading about it and writing blog posts and whatnot about it for a semester. And so in this course in Drexel, just highlighting one portion of the description, emphasizes the planning, implementation, and evaluation of instruction for the purpose of information education. So it is an instructional design course, that's pretty much what it's saying. And as I mentioned before, this kind of role for a librarian could be very helpful to faculty as the new ABA, the new and modified ABA standards take effect in 2016, 2017. And so the learning outcome standards, writing learning outcomes, I'm sure that a lot of your institutions are already beginning to plan how they're going to educate faculty on how to write learning outcomes, how to have these available to students. This is something that a librarian with some educational or instructional design training or experience could be helpful to other faculty with, how to write these learning outcomes. And so that's something that your librarian might want to get involved in. And also assessment of student learning, that requirement and the formal structures for assessment. Another thing that librarians could be helpful to their home institutions in helping their faculty understand what exactly is needed to satisfy this standard from the ABA. All right, any questions about this stuff before I move on? All right, great. Oh, and one thing, some libraries do actually have librarians who are dedicated to this kind of a role. Chicago Kent recently been looking for someone to serve this purpose, research and instruction services librarian. And when I talked to Debbie Ginsburg about this position, because my first question to Debbie was, are you leaving? Why are they hiring someone for this? It sounds kind of like your job. She's like, no, this is an instructional design librarian job. And my reaction to that was, that's awesome. That's awesome that Chicago Kent is going to have a dedicated instructional design librarian, even though that's not what the title says. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you get to collaborate with the other instructional designer within the university?
So CUNY is a pretty siloed university. We have 24 different campuses, and by campuses, we don't have some of our campuses are single building like ours, all throughout the 5 boroughs of New York. And so we don't have that much collaboration. We don't have anyone dedicated to instructional design, to academic technology, to anything of that kind. In the law school, we're a pretty small law school. We also don't have a Center for Teaching and Learning, which pretty much every other CUNY campus does, although the average CUNY campus size is about 30 to 40 times our size, honestly the average is. And so they all have more of a need for that. We don't have the size of a faculty to have a Center for Teaching and Learning, unfortunately, because I would love it if we did. So no, to answer your question, no. We don't collaborate, but that is something that's great to do. Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a comment, and it's not meant as a challenge to anything you've said, and it's more, I'm trying to reconcile it in my own life, in my own belief, two conflicting points of view. On the one hand, I strongly believe, as I know several other people in this room do, that librarians are taking on new roles, and those of us who know that we're doing that, or people doing that, realize that there are other roles we have to minimize or give up in order to do that.
Sure.
And in fact, I'll be speaking on that next month somewhere else. And I still find it, trying to take this to a practical point of view, I have concerns that it's difficult to drop quickly enough the things you don't think you should be doing anymore and move into these areas that you think you should be doing. Plus, it's not an instantaneous thing to have someone on staff, if you don't already have somebody with the skills, to get that certificate. And on top of that is my concern that at some point, if the school itself is not either willing to or as likely in this environment when enrollment is dropping, doesn't have the resources to commit to create a new position or to backfill for somebody who's moving into that. These are the things that I'm having trouble reconciling.
Sure, and that's understandable. I mean, I think that a lot of us are facing change right now, and a lot of us are facing decreased enrollment right now. And from our perspective at CUNY, with our decreased enrollment and a lighter teaching load for me, I was able to convince my boss to carve out some time to do this, to collaborate with the clinics, and to be, as we say, embedded, but really this is not traditional librarian role. So it's not embedded librarian in a research sense, it's embedded librarian in a providing a totally different kind of service sense. But from our point of view at CUNY, this is something that several of us have a strong interest in. We all teach at CUNY, and so we've all gone through instructional design courses, and we're not all involved in this. Like, I'm doing a little less reference. Some of my colleagues are picking up the slack there. I'm focusing on this kind of thing, or academic technology in general at the law school, and some of my colleagues are spending more time doing traditional librarian functions because I'm not. I understand that, and thankfully everyone is totally on board with me spending my time on this to a large degree and not so much on traditional librarian roles in my average week. But I know that's not the case for every library. I know that every library can't give up a few hours of a librarian's time for these kinds of things. But if a library does have some time, or is looking for a way to become more integral to their institution, to become something in addition to all the many valuable roles that they already serve, to serve additional roles, or to fill voids that the school may not even know are there. I had mentioned before with the changing ABA standards, there's a need there right now. There's a need there for faculty to understand how learning outcomes and objectives work, and how there's a formal structure to writing these, how it's something that is very learnable, very teachable, but someone has to be there to teach the faculty how to do this. And in the case of CUNY, and I know some other institutions, librarians are stepping into that role. Does anyone have any other comment? Yeah. Cool.
there's a whole master's degree programs for instructional designers. They had 36 plus hours credit on that alone.
I know.
Why would a university, why would a law school want to hire a librarian to fill that role who's taken a course on that versus having?
Well, see, my concern is if the administration of the law school is the kind in this environment that wants to do something like cheap, they're not going to hire that other person. And yes, I'd like to be able to help the law school in taking on these things, but on the other hand, I don't want people to fail to see what the outcome of spreading resources too thinly, and that's the second half of what I was saying before. I mean, I personally would like my staff of 12, and I'm counting me, to be able to do all sorts of things that we aren't doing now. But I know I don't have the training. I know several of them don't have any given training we might be talking about. And on top of that, it's not like we're going to shut down our reference services or even reduce them in terms of hours to be able to do it. We're already, I'm trying to de-emphasize traditional aspects of what we were calling technical services until I decided last week to rename it. And I got this from the idea of our university libraries, content and resource services.
Cool.
Because people who aren't librarians, you hear the word technical, you don't think of what I'm getting, you think of, oh, they must fix computers, that's technical.
Yeah.
Or they go to ITT or something, but
Yeah.
but people understand, oh, content and resources, that's the stuff that they're getting from me.
Yes. That's stuff. Yeah.
But, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think any change is difficult and will
Oh,
take
yeah.
time. But again, it will happen, and the strongest will survive. I'm sorry, but this is what's going to
Yeah, and
happen.
that's my concern.
People who can afford to hire librarians or instructional designers, won't be here in a few years.
Yeah, by the way, I wasn't hired into this kind of a role. This was something that just came up through lots of conversations.
But your school can afford you to do this role,
Yeah.
while others can do other stuff.
My title for the end of the month is Emerging Technologies Librarian, but because I've been taking on these additional functions, my title will be changing to Director of Academic Technology. So I've taken on a huge, my job has changed since I started 2 years ago. But that's because our library director has let that happen. She's given the green light for the rest of the law school to take more and more and more of my time until the point where academic technology and instructional design related things are 80%.
Just, Kim was talking about the backfilling. I'm wondering if either as a hire or on a consulting basis, would it be tenable to bring in someone who has an advanced instructional design background but no legal background? Would that work?
That's a good question. My gut is to say it would be a lot more difficult for the consultant than they might expect, because in other disciplines, through the PhD program, like teaching assistant setup, people learn to teach while they're getting their advanced degree. With law school, that just doesn't happen. And so a consultant in instructional design may be encountering faculty who have never sat down and opened a pedagogy book or taken a pedagogy course or a MOOC or whatever. Hopefully that's not the case, but they're going to encounter folks who have never been trained to teach the way that PhDs are trained to teach.
No, maybe not trained.
Huh?
Maybe not trained. They're thrown in the soup anyway.
Yeah, okay, yeah, there you go, yeah.
So our instructional technology person left, and we are contracting with the university temporarily, and the person that we're using is similar to a contract person, and it's an amazing fit because her focus had been on the science faculty, and they are similar in their background to law faculty in the sense that they don't really get this instruction and teaching. And she's been amazing. And she doesn't have background in the law, but she understands the thought process.
Yeah.
So I think it is possible.
In our case, I'm hoping that's the path we're going to go. The university has finally committed some new staff because they're trying to develop a really larger distance learning system.
Nice.
To have perhaps a couple of instructional designers that will be available for working across campus.
That's wonderful.
Well, in our school, we started a certificate. Each faculty who is teaching online needs to have her or his course approved, and the course needs to be approved, and the faculty need to be approved, so they can teach online.
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
we had
Yeah, it's
a
different
law
approach.
faculty who she was teaching online without anybody else knowing that she was doing it online, just taking whatever she was doing in face-to-face
Yeah.
and put it on the blackboard, and that's online.
Huh.
So
Well, it's good, yeah, it's good to go through the approval process. That's surprising to hear that. That person just went about it and did it her own way, yeah. Any other comments about this aspect? Okay. So the last hat is tech guru. And back at the ALS Clinical Conference, I really went back and forth about the word guru, but people said, yeah, use it because IT and librarians are the people who faculty go to when they have questions about gadgets and gizmos and technology and whatnot. And I think this conference is a perfect example of the fact that librarians now are really engrossed in technology, in personal technology, educational technology, and just the large number of librarians who come to this conference every year. So librarians can serve as technology gurus, helping faculty understand technology. I and another librarian regularly do workshops for our committee on academic technology, and do workshops on using Camtasia for screen capture, on using PowerPoint, advanced PowerPoint tips and whatnot. And these workshops are very hands-on how-to trainings with a little bit of pedagogy and instructional design kind of stuff thrown in there too. So we try and balance it out for them. But again, we're two librarians who are doing this on a regular basis. And it's because we all teach, we all use the same technology in the classrooms that the rest of our faculty use. And we like sharing information with people and helping them out. We're very helpful people, and that's the thing for those of you who aren't librarians. If you know this, your librarians are really helpful. And so if they have the time, if there's resources in the library, they probably want to help you with this, or at least field some questions and point you in the right direction, because that's what we do. We try and help people. We try and answer questions as best we can. And so I won't get into the details about how librarians can be technology gurus, because I think you've all experienced that through one or several people in your home institutions. So with that, does anyone have any questions for me? Yeah, I'll start with her.
So how did you actually, get the clinics on board in the first place?
So our clinic dean is also the chair of our Committee on Academic Technology. So he's a heavy user of academic technology. And I've been on the committee since I arrived at CUNY 3 years ago now. And over the years, we talked a lot about law, practice technology. See, every time, it gets me. Law, practice, technology. And after about a year and a half, 2 years of talking about law, practice, technology adoption in our clinics, we figured we should do something about this. We should do more than just academic technology in the classroom, the teaching component. We should expose our students to the kind of technologies they'll be using when they enter practice. And so this is something he cared about, something I cared about. This is something that my boss was willing to let me take a fraction of my time to dedicate to, and so that's how that came about. But if it weren't for his interest or my interest, it would never happen. Yeah.
Can I ask what your clinics are?
This is a tough one. His clinic is elder law. We have a defender's clinic. We have what was an immigration clinic, but it's now more of a national security clinic. So several of the clients are in Guantanamo, which is pretty cool for our students. We have an International Women's Human Rights Clinic, and we also have externship concentrations in health law. We have an internal, sorry, I missed Community Economic Development internal clinic. Health law and family law, and there's something else for the external concentrations that I can't remember what the last externship category is. Yeah. But clinics are required of all three of those. I can't even have them since it opened its doors 32 years ago? Yeah. Other questions about any of this? All right, thank you, folks. Oh,
I
is
have a
that-
question. I
Sorry.
have that on a t-shirt.
You have that on a t-shirt?
I have that saying on a t-shirt.
Yeah, we use this all the time around our libraries, and our students just love it. Because we do Rotary reference, and so on our digital display boards throughout the building, whenever we change a location or a time or whatever, the sign goes up and they know, and that's where they pay attention. Yeah. I want to teach you about that. Anything else? Yeah.
If you had to, I guess, think forward maybe about 5 years for CUNY, what do you think would be the for the instructional design role and the other hats being worn there?
Yeah.
What would be kind of the full-time equivalency as far as hours being put in?
In terms of hours?
Yeah, how many people do you think that's going to be?
We're a small school, so we have about 100 students each incoming class. So yeah, we've got about 300 students total. So it would be nice to have one FTE, but I don't, if our enrollment rebounds, if we're in a better financial position, it's something that I would love to see. I definitely have not stopped talking about the need for someone dedicated to this since the day I arrived. And it's not what I want to be dedicated to because I'm teaching for a big chunk of my time, have library responsibilities, academic knowledge. It's sort of become like 80% of my job, even though it wasn't what I was hired for. But it's because I care about it and I want it to be that way. So, because I see there's a need. I saw, for the time I arrived there, as a Berrio technologies librarian focused, the intention was to be focused on library technology. Academic technology, which is what I was doing at Boston College before I went to CUNY, has really become a big portion of my job. So I'd say that things are better for legal academia in general financially in 5 years, and CUNY can begin hiring new folks. One FTE would be wonderful for a school our size. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, thank you everyone.